effect, pop in the DVD, sit back and enjoy the super awesome BVM. How's it going, bookworms, filmsters? I'm Katana and welcome back to another BVM. And for today's episode, I think it's time for this channel to explore the paranormal aspects of literature. And no, I don't mean the lighthearted fantasies like Harry Potter, but more of the grungy type. I mean, for this one, we're dealing with punk angels, punk demons, punk vampires, and hell yes, punk werewolves. Honestly, this is not my casual read, but I'm always open to new experiences. And hopefully this book can motivate me enough to read other paranormal fiction in the future. But enough chit chat. For today, we're going to jump right into Cassandra Clare's City of Bones. Just like all wild and life-changing stories, this one begins at the Pandemonium Club. 15-year-old Clarissa Fray goes out dancing with her best friend Simon Lewis, but she never expected to witness a murder by a group of teenagers. This was her first experience with the Shadowhunters, a group of half-human, half-angels who rid the world from demons under the command of a higher order called the Clave. And from that coincidental meeting, Clary's life changed for the unexpected because the very next night, her mom goes missing, and it's up to Clary to figure out the secrets kept between her mother's ties with the Shadowhunters, leading into an adventure full of mystery, twist, and a whole lot of sass. And I say sass with emphasis because some of these characters just pack it wherever they go. Clarissa Fray, or Clarissa Fray for short, is the protagonist for this book. She's short, red-headed, incredibly clueless about boys, and doesn't take crap from anyone. Her stubborn nature isn't so easy to break, and she'll gladly insert herself and make her presence known. She's also very loyal to her friends and tries to do the best she can to keep them close, even when she's the one screwing their relationships. But one thing that annoys me about Clary is her lack of involvement in the story. Aside from being the eyes for the readers and watching the events unfold, she does practically nothing. Well, not true. She instigates the problems, and those are usually resolved by the help around her. From what I can remember, she followed Jace around and got emotional a lot. Sure, you can argue that it's because she still hasn't got those Shadowhunter abilities, but it still doesn't register with her nature. She's always injecting herself into situations, and straying from most of the action seems like the opposite of what she would realistically do. So, less like a strong female protagonist, and more like a damsel in distress. Jace Wayland is one of the leading Shadowhunters who interacts with Clary the most and teaches her about the Shadow World. He's known to be the best Shadowhunter because he was taught how to fight at a very young age before his dad was murdered in front of him. He's considered to be incredibly handsome with the ladies, but just on the outside. His personality could use a little work since he comes off as incredibly narcissistic, insulting, and almost deprived of any human compassion. Aww. I'll never understand. Simon Lewis is Clary's childhood friend, and in comparison to Jace, is on the opposite spectrum of compassion. Truthfully, he's the stereotypical dork who's intelligent and nerdy trivia and has quite the crush on Clary. I mean, after 10 years, the hormones just had to kick in at some point, right? Alec Lightwood is a Shadowhunter who's all about the law. He's the oldest of the Lightwoods and holds the responsibilities while his parents are away. He's more vicious when it comes to Simon and Clary, especially for Clary, but it's less about being inexperienced and more on romantic purposes. Isabel Lightwood is Alec's younger sister, and honestly one of the fun characters I enjoyed from reading this. She's tall, beautiful, loves to party, terrible in the kitchen, and real seductive to the men she comes across. In addition to her primary weapon being the whip, she comes off as quite the kinky hunter of the group. With these 5 teens, the super awesome ass-kicking demon dream team is formed! What I liked best about this book was definitely all things related to the Shadow World. Miss Clare did not disappoint in creating such a vibrant lore. I found myself getting so invested with the chapters talking about the Clave or the origins of this group called the Circle that this evil Shadowhunter Valentine created. Not to mention, the monsters and other non-human species were refreshing. You had your standard vampires and werewolves, but through creativity, we got creatures such as this alligator centipede hybrid and this 9-foot skeleton demon overlord named Abaddon. The variety of monsters helped in demonstrating how vast this shadow world is in terms of culture and what everyday shadow hunters have to put up with. And there were also a good amount of twists. I was just expecting 1 or 2 moments of jaw-dropping expression, but instead I got around 5 or 6 legitimate OMG surprises. I would say they were effective because I wanted to continue reading another chapter, even though it meant committing to another 30 pages. The twists were great when knowing the context, but there was just one that was incredibly huge, actually caused some controversy within the community, and, well, let's just say it feels a bit out of this world. This is a twist that you don't want to miss. I wish I could continue to say more good things, but those were it. For starters, when I said that I liked all things involving the shadow world, that's all that really intrigued me. I found myself not caring much for the main teen characters, their problems, or their love interests. I directed the issue towards them being too similar in terms of their attitudes and snappy nature. Don't get me wrong, they had their moments of dialogue and witty lines, but it's no fun when there's just not much of a variety of personality among the main characters, and instead just picture them all as the same person. And there wasn't just a lack of interest, but there were also some predictable points sprinkled out that were easy to guess, and some out of character moments. Jace comes to mind the most. It's like 1 minute he's I'm godly beautiful and tough as nuts. But then nearing the climax, he's so, I will follow you to the end, papa. I don't know, just a few inconsistencies with the characters, trying to pinpoint their initial personalities. There were times when the focus of the plot just derailed. I mean, the Hotel de Mort chapters were so long, I kept wondering what this had to do with the initial plot. I loved the West Side Story between the vampires and werewolves, but it really didn't become anything more than fluff. Scenes that were just there for the sake of being there without any significant purpose. And lastly, I want to give my 2 cents about the claims of stealing ideas. From what I heard about this book, it steals ideas from other popular stories in terms of plot and characters, and it certainly doesn't help from Miss Clare's own background of plagiarism back in 2006 when she was writing Harry Potter fanfiction. On the one hand, because of my lack of knowledge about Miss Clare, I wasn't thinking too much about what was being stolen and enjoyed the story for what it was. Ideas are taken and borrowed all the time, it isn't something new. Readers related Valentine's motives with Voldemort, but I was just thinking about the theme of racial prejudice in general. That kind of plot of demonstrating the superior race has been done and is common. But the real problem to address is how much is too much. I mean, if the readers can point out stuff from Harry Potter, or Star Wars, or other popular works, then what does that say about the author's originality? Again, her past doesn't help her at all, and really puts her storytelling abilities into question. Definitely something to talk about. But luckily, City of Bones didn't lose my interest yet. Clare's writing style isn't something to brag about, but her amazing vision with the shadow world and complex story is. So for the time being, I'm motivated to continue this series. All I can hope for is that the characters get better and the writing becomes more focused, but for what I got, it wasn't so bad. So those are my thoughts on the book aspect of things. Now it's time to check out the movie adaptation, which doesn't seem so appealing, especially since it has a 12% on Rotten Tomatoes. At this point, all I can say is, what did they do wrong? So sit back, relax, and enjoy as we see what the deal is with the Mortal Instruments, City of Bones. The movie begins with an overshot of New York City, introducing us right away to Clarissa Fray, who's talking to Simon over the phone about making plans for her birthday. It isn't long until Queen Cersei walks into this movie disguising herself as Clary's artistic mother Jocelyn, along with her bearded friend Luke. I will say that the movie's already setting the plot in motion. From the symbols Clary's been drawing so far, it starts to make Jocelyn aware and anxious from letting her daughter find out the truth. A little out of place from the book's chain of events, but still does a great job in condensing information just for the sake of screen time. Clary and Simon are at a poetry reading to support Simon's friend Eric, who seems as though he's never set foot in an English class.
My nefarious loins slather every protuberance with arid zeal. Agony, torment.
Please! You call that poetry? Despair, hatred, words that that carry the tides of anguish. The seed of innocence buried under corrupt snow. It's snowing on Mount Fuji. Also, this cafe scene introduces Simon's feelings for Clary when he denies the blonde checking out his dorky swag.
No Fawn girl over there was totally flirting with you. Ask her out.
That wouldn't be fair.
Why?
Because I'm saving myself for someone else.
Who?
Is my torment.
And Clary sure proves to have the blood of an artist if she can make this symbol perfectly with just a pack of sugar. No messy outlines or nothing.
Hey, let's go in here. I want to ask what that symbol means.
Alright, movie. We get it. It was okay with the mirror, fine with the post-it note, you pushed it a little with the coffee, and now this. It even looks so out of place. What immature shadow hunters out there tagging club signs? Either you're that obnoxious about wanting the symbol to be trending after people leave the theater, or you just want to make Clary look like an idiot.
Hi. What does that symbol mean?
What symbol?
Yeah, what symbol?
But apparently this dude with the faux loves crazy chicks and lets Clary and Simon cut the line. Oh, so he's probably going to hit on Clary or try to get something out of them, right? Nope. He just randomly lets him in and does absolutely nothing except stare at Clary from a distance. Why? Because she talked about the symbol? That makes even less sense because he eventually turns into a demon and should know full well what that symbol means for him. Did he just know he was just going to die tonight and made this his last request or something? Hey man, word got out that I might die soon, so let's just let this cutie with the patootie in. Why? Because I'm the boss or some shit. It's never established. And he dies in the middle of the dance floor because this movie really wants to put Clary in the loony bin. She takes one deep gaze at her murderer before they tail off, and Clary herself leaves for the night, hoping that things will get better by morning. Okay, starting to get a little creepy now. For God's sakes, there's suspense music playing right now. Okay, movie, you win. Don't know what tone you're going for, but that's cool. No one's judging. She's special. Clary is special. Just don't hurt me, all right? Just take it easy, man. I'll convert. I'll give you all my money, please. Clary has something urgent to talk with Simon about, but Jocelyn stands in her way, and this change switches the sympathy card between characters. In the book, Jocelyn thought the best solution to fixing her anxieties was to run away for the summer with Clary and Luke, having Clary to give up her friends and art classes for the vacation. You can sympathize with Clary because her mom is afraid to confront the truth, but this version makes Jocelyn the better person by having her want to keep Clary close and safe, help her stop being so oblivious to love, and even brings up the chance to discuss Clary's lineage.
Something I want to tell you, okay?
And Clary responds the same exact way in the book, but the context is different, making her look like the bad one. I personally side with the book for this scene. At least Clary doesn't come off as a brat for weak reasons. So Jocelyn is trying to convince Clary to stay, but Simon comes barging in with no manners, taking Clary away. And if this were a completely different story, walking out on Lena Headey would be a fool's decision. Well, look who came running back to mine. Never mind. Two shadow hunters, I suppose, are Pangborn and Blackwell intrude with their dog, looking for a cup, but Jocelyn isn't going down so easily. And I would like to retract my statement from before. Any version of Lena Headey can surely kick ass. Meanwhile, Clary's with Simon at Java Jones trying to find meaning in the symbols when the Hooded Club murderer returns. And she, of course, follows him into an alleyway because she feels safe, not like she witnessed him kill a guy in cold blood or anything. She tries getting answers about the symbols from him since he's tattooed with them, but gets an urgent call from her mom.
Mom, I'm coming home.
No, you can't come home. You understand me? You don't come home. You call Luke, tell him Valentine's alive and that he found me. I love you.
Clary runs in a frenzy, giving no regards to the safety of others, or her own for that matter, while Jocelyn decides to knock herself out before revealing the location of this cup. Clary arrives home a bit late with the place torn apart and almost everyone gone. Please, oh please tell me this is not replacing the crocopede. Oh, it is, and the replacement is much more disgusting to look at. It's like 4 tube cans of pure vomit morphed with a Rottweiler and became the ultimate slinky. It's cartwheeling towards Clary as she uses her incredible wits to create an explosion out of the stove. Wow, Claire and Jocelyn sure made the right choice in getting the exact same fridge from the Crystal Skull. Those models just know how to save lives under close impact. Yet that didn't do much as the vomit puppy is trying to morph itself back together, exacting revenge before ended by the murderer, saving Clary's life. He's trying to tell her about these demons, but she doesn't want to believe it, and then she hears the door slamming by the fortune teller, Madame Dorothea. Clary tries getting answers from her, and they are delivered in the form of tarot cards, which were painted by Jocelyn. Clary hovers her hand over the spread, and one card magically magnetizes to her palm, which just so happens to be the Ace of Cups, looking eerily similar to the Mortal Cup. Madame Dorothea then reveals Jocelyn's identity as a shadow hunter, and when she tries to access Clary's memories, she learns that they've been blocked.
My guess is your mother hired someone very skilled to protect
From
you.
what?
Your own memories.
Why? I don't remember anything she'd want me to forget.
Of course, you bimbo! Because she made you forget who wrote this shit. Clary hears more noises coming from her home and brings a weapon this time around. She charges in, breaking Simon's back with a fire extinguisher. Everyone is reunited as Simon can actually see Jace, who finally introduced himself. They're just looking around for clues when Jace brings out Jocelyn's phone.
Clary. Simon? She called you?
Why didn't you pick up?
That's a good point, because during the break-in, this happened.
Uh-oh.
I can't understand why he wouldn't pick up. There is no beef between them. In fact, Simon sounded like he had the hots for her in the beginning.
Hey, you.
Simon? Yeah.
Hi, Simon.
Yeah. He says, call me.
Well, she called. Where were you? Dick? Jace also finds the bottle Jocelyn drank earlier, which leads them to ask Luke for answers. They arrive at his bookstore with Simon standing guard and Clary and Jace checking out the place. Eventually, they find Luke chained to a chair being interrogated by Pangborn and Blackwell about the Mortal Cup's location, and just flat out being instigated. You know, I really hate how this movie just doesn't hold back information. It's like they weren't even trying to hide Luke's identity.
That's really amazing. It's how much you actually look like a human. Show me that you can change. Huh? Look at that. Look at that.
You wanna hunt my leg? Young plagues? You like that?
So, after Luke practically disowns his ties with the Fray family, Clary can't believe it and accidentally knocks over a vase in distraught. She runs away and leaves the hunters to Jace. Though the scene was covered with a bit more stealth in the book, I could understand the choice to involve more action for viewing pleasure. Clary returns to Simon talking with an officer, but really a demon in disguise, and Jace also ends those lives pretty quickly, with them fleeing the scene. And this leads into our first intimate moment between Clary and Jace.
We need to get you to a safe place. I'm a shadow hunter, Clary, and I will protect you with my life.
Okay, let's talk about Jace. This guy, he ain't no Jace. Not the fact that he doesn't look that all-dropping gorgeous, but he's the complete opposite when talking about character. Book Jace was more self-absorbed and spoke his mind freely without filters. This Jace feels way too reserved, sympathetic, and doesn't come off nearly as cocky. Book Jace had a vibrant personality, but I get bored watching this guy as he's playing the character too safely. Honestly, I would be upset if I was a die-hard fan of Jace. This isn't what I asked for. Taking the subway, Jace brings Clare and Simon back to his home, the Institute, which does show a nice transformation. But as they're walking through the ginormous doors, Clary starts to become weakened by a demon bite on her arm. Did I miss a scene? When did she get bitten? I looked back at the fights and she didn't experience one bite. And if you're talking about the part where the vomit puppy is slapping his putty hand on her, that's so weak and ambiguous. Just because she passed out in the book doesn't mean you could do it here, not without a legitimate reason at least, and certainly not for the sake of this line.
Jace, do something!
This is the part when you start tearing off pieces of your shirt to bind my wounds.
If you wanted me to take my clothes off, you should have just asked.
Seriously, who wrote this? Clary soon wakes up in the infirmary, learning about the power of runes and meeting with Isabel and Alec. Once she's good and changed, they take her to speak with their mentor Hodge. And from the small time we get with Alec, his character is also altered because he seems so damn calm. Alec, of all people, especially with the mundane.
I think we can trust her.
And what about her mundane friend?
Well, that was impulsive.
Just be careful. The rune to fix a broken heart is the most painful one.
They'll be out of here in a day. Promise.
They leave and Hodge enters, looking more like a bank teller from your local SunTrust. But before we get into all this, we need to check on Simon getting the house tour from Isabel. And boy, did this movie butcher this relationship, considering that it is non-existent. And it's not just the fact that no chemistry is formed between the two, but there's just no character development at all. It's just explanations and exposition all around.
Demon?
No, werewolves aren't demons. We have a truce with downworlders. Downworlders pretty much sums everything up. Vampires, werewolves, warlocks.
Warlocks. Cool. You know, Jace has got a real chip on his shoulder.
You would too if you saw your father murdered when you were a child. If it weren't for him, we'd be dead. He saved our lives more times than I care to admit.
Gee, who the hell expected fun out of this movie? Certainly not me. Back to Hodge, he's giving Clary a history lesson about the Mortal Cup, which has the power to turn any mortal into a shadow hunter. There's no bother introducing the storyline about the accords between the Clave or downworlders, and skips right into Valentine creating the Circle as a band of thieves to steal the cup. Instead of a plot filled with prejudicial tones, we get...
He believed there had to be an evolution of shadow hunters, something more powerful. He learned how to summon demons. He even injected himself with demon blood so he could control them.
Oh no. And in terms of the book, this makes no sense. Valentine had a burning passion to kill all downworlders because he wanted to keep the world pure for human beings. And now this movie's saying that he experimented with demon blood and became a ruler of demons? By now I shouldn't be surprised by this, but again, out of character. This is not at all what Valentine's mindset would have turned to, becoming the thing he hated the most. How can you F this up so much? Their conversation ends as Jace announces that these silent brothers are ready to see Clary. She's taken to a graveyard, meeting one of the brothers, and escorted through a mausoleum before reaching the place the title promised.
Welcome to the City of Bones.
She was brought here for help in unlocking her memories, which the brothers attempt by transporting her back through childhood memories. They range from cute to informative, but eventually it becomes too much for her.
The block is stronger than anticipated. It can only be undone by the one who put it there.
Why are you saying it? I mean, same thing happened with Simon and the runes.
It's a rune. They happen for everything. They make you invisible, strong, they heal. They also make you visible. That's why I could suddenly see him, even if you're hungry.
No.
Can we just have people who know their shit talk about their shit? So after figuring out that the person who might have blocked their memories is a warlock named Magnus Bane, they begin to dress for one of his parties. And fun, exciting girl talk is exchanged. Ha ha ha! JK is more exposition, like how the Clave treats gayness.
Does Jace know how
it that obvious?
It's really not that big of a deal.
But it is to the Cleve. Don't make the rules.
The Shadow Hunters soon arrive, or better, sneak, into Magnus's vampire house party. There isn't much search as Magnus introduces himself to his unwanted guest. And is it just me, or did I read Magnus's voice to be a little bit more animated in the book?
You know I don't like you guys, but I'll let you stay.
I don't know, in my head his voice had a bit of a flair, but this guy is drowning the performance in a dry, bored tone. Anyway, Magnus drags Clare into his room to talk about Jocelyn bringing her to these appointments where anything about the Shadow World was erased from her mind. Magnus can't do anything about it now, as it will just wear off over time. And he also becomes a bearer of bad news when he tells Clary that who she thought was her dad really wasn't her dad. But then it gets worse.
They've taken Simon.
Who?
Vampires.
At this point, I don't care about them. Prior to all this, Simon and Isabel were acting like an item in the book. More so, Simon was trying to make Clary jealous by being around Isabel more, and that ended up with him being turned into a rat by something he drank. Compared to the book, this is just boring. What's the point of following the events if I give absolutely no damn about the people carrying them? You managed to take a fun relationship, scrap it, and yet keep the same events that made it fun. Screw you, movie. So now the crew is preparing themselves to fight against some vampires. Jace gives Clary a weapon herself, thinking a newbie is capable on the first run, but a jealous, tweaked Alec thinks otherwise.
What is it about her?
She's brave.
We're shadow hunters, we're all brave.
She wasn't raised like us, she's different.
It's gonna get us all killed.
They step into the Hotel de Mort armed and ready, walking with evil in the shadows and the clue of Simon's shirt discarded. Could this possibly mean? Clearly nothing. I am so done with this movie. You could have at least given him a tail. With no boots and a long wooden board, Clary manages to unwrap Simon from his Jesus pose, and they all escape, but become ambushed by a horde of vampires. They're surrounded in the dining hall, cueing the incredibly punk montage of killing vampires. It's not a bad scene, really. Different from the book's interrogation, but it's great since it doesn't dwell too long and cuts right into the fighting. And it actually gives Isabel and Alec more screen time since they weren't that regular in the book. I am disappointed though that the werewolves got the raw end of the stick by not showing enough of them. Like, what the hell, man? Werewolves are cool! I got too many bats, not enough wolf action. They find sanctuary on the rooftop where the sun acts as their shield against the night creatures.
Thank you. For saving Simon.
Ah! Ooh! Ooh, I actually felt that one. Jesus, I gotta walk this off. We'll be right back after break. No. Okay. Alright. So, after the vampire fight, they return to the Institute to heal Simon, and Alec confronts Clary about overstaying her welcome. She mentions his feelings for Jace, and Alec musters up some powerful emotions into the scene.
Say anything like that again, I'll kill you.
Now apparently that didn't scare Clary in the slightest, as she's waiting in the infirmary for Simon to recover.
Found your glasses. One of the lens cracked.
How weird. I don't seem to need them anymore.
Movie, you're not trying to spoil anything, are you? Because I hate spoilers with a passion. You wouldn't want to ruin my experience as a reader now, would you? Because if I find out that this Spider-Man moment and this actually lead to something, I will be very, very fucking upset. They share a brief moment together right on time to piss off Jace, but Simon passes out pretty damn quick. So Clary wanders off to find Jace playing some classical tunes, which God forbid is an actual hobby of his, but more like some bullshit Shadowhunter tool to smoke out demons. But it doesn't even come close to ridiculousness than its origins.
So Bach was a Shadowhunter.
Yes.
So Bach is to demons what garlic is to vampires.
Kind of.
Jace then goes out of his way to introduce the portal where it can transport anyone, anywhere based on what they're thinking. He gives a demonstration / magic show that pulls a severed pale hand out of floating water. Ooh.
Now, you and I have a birthday to celebrate.
How did you know?
Excuse me? Clary, are you Jesus? Were you born twice? Because way early on in the film.
Yeah, and after the poetry reading, I'm not going home. I mean, it's my birthday.
I don't care how special you are. It's bullshit to get 2 birthdays. Jace takes her to see the greenhouse on her 2nd birthday, building up the intimacy between the two by giving her a candle apple and getting personal by Jace telling this tragic hawk story. I mean, I like the emotions being portrayed here. It's not the Jace everyone fell in love with, but the soft core version of him. And this is what people came to see, right? Jace and Clary together. I mean, how bad can it really get? He should have taken this date to Papa John's because this scene was so goddamn cheesy. And it becomes even more cliche. Right as Clary and Jace are walking up to her room kissing some more, Simon appears. He's annoyed by this and Clary tries to explain herself but ends up pushing Jace away. She goes to talk with Simon, who finally confesses his love but knows that she doesn't feel the same, so he leaves the institute and Clary. Listen, I know that it's a tough time for everyone right now, but I just want to point out that the improvements made on this sketch were great. They were okay. I like them. Too soon? Too soon. With one teen scarring his body with rune marks, the other teen is reading up on them when she accidentally stumbles upon a strange ability. From this revelation, she rushes down to Jace's room, telling him that she knows where the mortal cup is. The next day, the whole crew returns to Clary's house, where she's at the doorsteps of Madame Dorothea's room, asking for the tarot cards. She brings out the Ace of Cups and physically pulls out the mortal cup from hiding. As this is happening, Jace is just playing some music. Sweet, non-threatening music. Please, oh please tell me this is not her final form. You know, at the very beginning of the film, there was a shot of a tarot card showing the cloaked skeleton, and at the time when I was just so young and naive, I thought that was teasing for something better. This is not better. Like the vomit puppy, we get a veiny black woman with a tapeworm in her neck. I can understand budget reasons, but I've been sitting here watching, waiting for at least one creative creature the book offered. Her design just looks so similar to the dog's that it becomes stale. Alec and Isabel come to help, but they're knocked out quickly, Alec actually receiving a damaging blow. Simon comes over from the text sent by Eric, and after Clary's warning, slams the demon through the door, with Jace, for like the 100th time, sending the final blow. Clary puts the cup back in the card, and they all return to the Institute to mend Alec's wounds. Being more of an eyesore for Isabel, Jace sends Clary to look for Hodge and give a status report. He's already sent for help and just wants to see the cup. Clary reveals his hiding place, which leads to Hodge showing his true colors.
You've no idea what it's like, living with the Clave's curse, unable to set so much as a foot outside. Try not to judge me too harshly, Clary.
Hodge, what have you done?
Who invited the pirate? Seriously, that's supposed to be Valentine? The man who presented himself with class and authority? This guy seriously looked like he just walked off the set of Dead Man's Chest. I mean, he really looks wet for some strange reason. Anyways, Captain Valentine has the cup now and wants to check his authenticity by making Clary drink his blood out of it. Ew. She refuses, and this leads into a conversation that she would have never guessed.
Oh, come on, Clary. You must have guessed by now. All these amazing talents that your mother so desperately tried to suppress, where do you think they came from? You're my daughter. My blood runs in your veins.
You know, through all the crap I've been saying about this movie, I gotta say that the twists were well kept. In the book, it was already known early on about Clary's connection to Valentine before his appearance, but Hodge's motives for betraying was kept in the dark as well. Hodge was part of the circle with Valentine's crew, but once it was disbanded, Hodge paid the worst punishment by being cursed and staying at the Institute. Since the history of the Accords wasn't touched at all, it made Hodge's betrayal that more mysterious until this moment, and worked to its advantage. I'll give my compliments where they're due. Fed up with all the lies, Clary shoves the mortal cup back into its card and makes her daring escape through the portal. She finds herself near Luke's shop where one of the Shining girls is skipping down the street. I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy that. In a quick change of clothes, Luke comes out victorious from killing the little demon girl. He tries to comfort Clary even though she was there when he said he didn't care for her at all. It was just a misunderstanding, wasn't it?
You just want the cup like everyone else.
I said that to protect you. What else could I do? Keeping an eye on you this whole time.
Back to Hodge and Valentine, he's feeling a bit betrayed that Valentine wouldn't lift his curse. Then Valentine shares his own problems about the whole shadow world looking for him, and he's without an army to fight back. All he needs is Clary to somehow come back and bring the cup out.
She'll come back. There's someone here she wants as much as her mother. If you lie and tell them they're both your children, you'll break their hearts.
I'm sorry. What the hell did you just say?
If you lie and tell them they're both your children, you'll break their hearts. Movie.
Oh my god. Now I know you're lying. I know you're lying. You can't be this stupid. Please, someone tell me this is a joke, right? I mean, this is just another change for the adaptions, right? I mean, you can't be this stupid. This is such a joke. It has to be. It has to be. This can't be true. This can't be true.
Before you even leave the theater, you know that this isn't true. But if you've read the books, that's not something you find out for a long time.
It also gave away some spoilers for the series. So if you watched this movie and you haven't read the first 3 books in the series, you might end up spoiled. Just FYI.
Hey, why? Why would you do that? That was such a huge twist! The answer was revealed in book 3!
Every moviegoer will have his own breaking point when the mortal instrument City of Bones surpasses the mundane and enters the ridiculous. Every moviegoer will have his own breaking point. Breaking point. Breaking point. Breaking point. Are you fucking kidding me?! This has got to be the absolute worst thing an adaptation could possibly do! I can handle the bland variety of monsters, I can handle the staleness in these actors' performances, but when you step into my review and completely spoil one of the biggest twists this series possibly had to offer, that's where I draw the line! I'll tell you right now, since it's going to be revealed soon, Clary and Jace were siblings. That was the book's one huge twist, and I was perfectly fine with it. I know a lot of people ship Clary and Jace so hard that this ruined their image, but it was just a kiss. It's not like Jace agreed to the idea of keeping Simon in the room so they could chitty bang bang into a goddamn orgy. Things could have been so much more worse prior to the twist, but it wasn't, and it made things interesting for the upcoming stories. But no! This movie just pushed out and revealed it to make it less uncomfortable, which in turn became a terrible mistake because it isn't damaging to those who didn't read the book since they wouldn't know what to be mad about. It isn't damaging to those who already completed the series because they already know everything. It is damaging to people like me who started the series wanting to see how the movie compared and not expected to be spoiled for the rest of the series! Seriously? Who wrote this shit? I mean, did this guy just pull a magic 8-ball out of his anus, shook it, and said, hey, is this gonna be the greatest movie in the world or what?
No fucking way!
So they did all they wanted to do. They gave no consideration to the writing and managed to ruin a big twist within 2 books in 1 fucking line! And do you know what's the worst out of all of this? I wasn't spoiled in the comments. I wasn't spoiled in the reviews I was researching, but I had to be spoiled in the shittiest adaptation known to humankind. My experience had to be ruined by this movie. This godforsaken movie.
When I started working on the project, I just made sure I had my own vision all set up and I knew what I wanted to do.
Fuck you! Oh. And we still got 30 minutes left. Jeez, just go. Just next scene, please. Valentine finishes spiking up his pentagon, and Hodge, the unforgiving dream crusher, goes outside to open the oh my god, what else could it have been? Back when this trope was still fresh. This starts to attract bats who transform into faceless molten demons under the command of Valentine. Suddenly, Jace comes investigating the portal, meeting with Valentine and triggering this whole sequence of family ties and the fact that Clary had a brother. Gee, I wonder who ruined that prematurely.
You are not my father. I came back to help you understand who you really are. I'm a Wayland.
Sorry to break this to you, but it's time you heard the truth. It's all a matter of perception. You see, Morgenstern.
Oh, for the love of God, you just ripped off the Avengers and now you're taking your sources from SpongeBob? From fucking SpongeBob?
You know what the problem is?
What?
You got it set to M for Minnie, when it should be set to W for Wumbo.
I need a break from all this. Let's cut back to Isabel and Simon, who are still treating Alec when Magnus Bane arrives to take over. He sends them to get certain supplies in the basement when Simon spots something.
Isabel?
Jocelyn is right there. She's been right there this whole time. Right under the goddamn teen noses. Unprotected. Oh my god, when is this bullshit going to end? When does it end? When does this stupidity end? Simon contacts Clare about her mom's location, causing Luke to contact his other wolf buddies to organize a raid against the Institute. Isabel leaves Simon to watch Jocelyn while she delivers the medicine, but Blackwell and Pangborn arrive to take away the body. Isabel kills a demon but almost gets carried away, killing their reinforcement. They join together to escape the basement but are slowly picked off by the demons before locking themselves in a closed room with no way out. She never does this in the book. I'm not even sure that's how runes work. But since this movie just loves to jump ahead in the series, I am forced to believe this is actually a thing. With the demons frozen, the teens escape while the remaining werewolves hold them off, Alaric dying in the process. The teens get back to the portal room where Isabel and Simon split to deal with the sky portal, and Clary is up against Valentine and Jace.
Finally. Both my children together. My daughter. And my son.
Movie? Don't. Just don't. Clary goes through her traumatic grieving process about kissing her brother, and Valentine uses this time to have her bring out the cup. She still refuses, and Valentine tries forcing her, angering Jace. Wait, that's seriously all it took? No, oh, it's already open so you can't close it sort of deal? Well, this is just embarrassing. That act of rebellion leads into a sword fight between Jace and Valentine, but ends with Valentine knocking Jace back and sticking the spear into its rightful position. Pangborn and Blackwell enter the scene, being ordered to find the other intruders, and this is not even worth discussing. Pangborn finds Luke, he dead. Blackwell finds Isabel, Simon, and the newly changed Hodge, he also dead. To the sword fighting. Jace escapes Valentine's grip via his magic trick and enters another session of clashing blades. Again, Valentine has the upper hand and is about to end Jace's life before Clary threatens to drop the cup into the portal. She spends a minute going into deep father issues before a final decision could be made.
I promise you'll never have to see me again.
She gave him the cup? It wasn't stolen or beaten out of her. She consciously gave him the cup. Tossing it into the portal would have been the better choice. And apparently the rules of the portal don't matter since Valentine isn't entirely gone. She could have been thinking of anything and he should have been sent away. But for bullshit logical sense, he grabs her. Jace activates his steel and Clary uses it to freeze the portal. Only for a short time before it breaks apart. Now Valentine either escaped or died because I don't understand how this portal works, and Clary returns to her mom. Wait, you still have the cup? That's even worse! Let's say this movie, for some reasons beyond our control, got a sequel. I don't know what happens in the second book, but at least by the City of Bones ending, Valentine ends up with the mortal cup. Whatever is stored in the events can't possibly happen now if that cup is still in Clary's hands. It's bad enough that she gave it to him with little resistance, but now that she pulled a switcheroo on him, the sequel would have been handed a crappy job of trying to fix that mistake. Oh, good job, movie. Good job. You did decent at the beginning, but you blew it all to the very end. After that night, the next scene puts us in the hospital where Jocelyn is recovering. Clary puts Simon in the friend zone for good and goes home to rest. She spends the time cleaning, again, I don't know if this is possible or not, until Jace visits, telling her that she needs to stick around as a shadow hunter. She accepts this new change by getting on Jace's motorcycle, riding off, and for everyone's sanity, ending the Mortal Instruments City of Bones. You know, I came into this movie with some positivity. I knew it was bad, but I just thought I'd give it the benefit of the doubt, thinking it just might prove me wrong. But this is what happens when you let something so evil in your heart. The stupidity drains you, the plot rips you apart, and any other changes makes you contemplate your own life. You destroyed me, movie. So now, I am going to destroy you. Book wins! My soul hasn't been entirely crushed today, so I can still linger on good vibes. Right off the bat, the visuals for this movie are gorgeous. I didn't agree with the choice of monsters, but their CGI had fluid motion and looked realistic. The environments like the opening of the Institute or the greenhouse did prove to represent something original like the book, and little things like the use of the steel or the power of the runes or even the water reflection of the portal had a unique shine to them. Honestly, this movie was really nice to look at, and to my own surprise, the pacing for this film, regardless of the changes, were excellent. Really, it did not waste time getting the point across and fix the book's issue of losing focus. It didn't dwell much on Hotel de Mort and gave enough screen time for most of the characters. Even though this wasn't the ideal plot, it had decent pacing for what was given. So, nice visuals and controlled pacing. There, good stuff. Okay, on a different note, this movie can go to hell! Everything was wrong with the characters, and yeah, I literally just said seconds ago how the characters were good in pacing, but just by how much time they were given, not by how they acted during that time. Whatever you loved about these characters is gone, and doesn't contain any of their charm. It's been replaced with an utter focus to spew dialogue that only pertains to plot advancement, with little to no personality to their name. Jace isn't at all narcissistic or cocky about himself, but super withdrawn, quiet, and limited to his amount of dialogue. Alec says a couple passive-aggressive lines, and that somehow makes him the hot-headed one against mundanes. Isabel really has no character other than being the strong girl character who fights, and Magnus Bane, the hottest piece of ass in this film, sounded so bored to be the High Warlock of Brooklyn. Simon and Claire were probably the only ones who really had flair, especially Simon. I enjoyed his performance and just loved the energy he brought to the movie. That's what it should have been for the rest, but sadly, it wasn't. The movie tried to pass him off as cool and grungy and serious, but what we got were monotone rebels who weren't nothing like the characters we loved or tolerated from the original pages. And I'll go even deeper as to criticize the lines pulled from this book for this movie, which also didn't work. The ones I think about the most are with Simon's hatred towards Jace. It doesn't work in the same context because this Jace wasn't as vicious towards Simon. Maybe 3 lines were uttered at Simon that would have passed as annoying, but nothing to prove to hate the guy. It only happened because it was in the book. Same goes with the talk about Jocelyn and Clary's fight. Clary had no reason to get that upset, not what we were shown about her mom. Sometimes the movie just wanted to include lines to reenact scenes, but the scenes in the book were followed with more intense characters and better build-up. So it's stupid to think that you could just pull out all the emotions from those scenes and still say those same lines, thinking they're on the same level. Then we have the plot conflictions for this story. Hell, by the final third, it wasn't even the same story anymore. The movie took away any mention of the Clave and the Accords, Valentine's motives for stopping the Accords, and the entire relationship between the humans and Downworlders and how their differences have been an issue for centuries. The movie just took Valentine's conflictions for achieving purity and somehow turned him into a lame villain looking for power, making him generic. Then the ending with Clary not giving up the cup, which could have made things complicated in the sequel, which thank God isn't happening. And the spoilers just no, that was the final straw for me. I don't need to say anything more about it. In a way, I should actually be thanking this movie because it made me appreciate the book so much more. I spent 2 hours watching these Shadowhunters without their attitudes. The plot was stupid and illogical changes, and just any amount of fun was taken from me. I don't ever want to see this movie ever again for as long as I live. I don't regret what I've said about this abomination and gladly grant the book the undeniable winner 110%. And those are my final thoughts on the Mortal Instruments City of Bones. And if you don't agree, well, you can read the book, take painkillers while watching the movie, and make your own opinion. I'm Katana, and I am so drained for the day. Jesus. The fifth wave is next to be reviewed. Hopefully, it's much better than what I just put myself through today. Be excited for that, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Take care. Hey guys, thanks again for watching this review. If you enjoyed today's episode, why not subscribe and stick around for more. Follow me on Twitter and Facebook for updates, and if you can, share this video around with other book and movie lovers. By the end of this review, you're probably thinking that the world of book to movie adaptations is slowly coming to an end. Well, why not restore your fate with my last review on Watership Down. It has bunnies, so that should ease the pain. Also, check out my side book and movie reviews if you got time to spare. Got a book/movie review you'd like to see me do one day? Just leave a suggestion in the comments down below and I'll be sure to check it out. Now I really gotta lie down. I did so much yelling today and too much anger was thrown around. Don't watch this movie carelessly, guys. It could shorten your lifespan. Until next time, bye.